Who here has ever been to a burlesque show? Okay, now who here has been to a nerdlesque show? All right. Well, I am Jimmy Galactic. I'm a burlesque performer, a nerdlesque performer, a show producer, and MC. And we are going to talk about this weird thing that I love and have been doing for the last 14 years. Burlesque, but specifically nerdlesque, and its history in Austin and beyond. It's a surprise for somebody in the audience. But first, what is burlesque? So, contrary to popular belief, burlesque is not how it is portrayed in the 2010 Christina Aguilera and Cher film called Burlesque. That is actually cabaret, but the name was already taken. So burlesque is the classic art of striptease that was most popular from around the 1860s to about the 1970s. We'll say that's when it really started to slow down. Some of our classic legends that you may have heard of are Josephine Baker, Lily St. Cyr, Miss G. Rose Lee, and Sally Rand. But in the 90s, a group of, multiple groups of performance artists started to do burlesque and kind of usher in the revival in what we now call neo-burlesque, which is where we are now. And that's Coco Electric. She is here tonight. She's pretty awesome. She's basically what some of us consider Austin's burlesque matriarch. She has taught, mentored, inspired, produced much of today's Austin burlesque scene. She was a co-founder of the Gigawatts in 2006, but she was also doing burlesque as we know it back in the 90s. Here in Austin? Here in Austin. So other notable local icons would be members of the first troupe, Kitty Kitty Bang Bang, who are no longer around, but her troupe, the Gigawatts, or the troupe that she founded, the Gigawatts, is still around. So she's awesome, and she's here. Surprise. So now, what is nerdlesque? Nerdlesque is a burlesque niche. It is the marriage of burlesque and cosplay. So this is the rise of comic book and anime conventions helped make this popular. I like to think of nerdlesque as a love letter to fandom or a juicy piece of fan fiction in striptease form. Nerdlesque performers usually do burlesque acts in characters from fandom. They play along with storylines. They, use costumes, personal items of the character that they're portraying, show sets and props, and play out their story in about 3 to 6 minutes, taking it off piece by piece. A lot of reveals often incorporate the use of fun Easter eggs from fandom that everybody really appreciates. Nerdlesque acts started popping up in all kinds of burlesque shows, and then there were whole shows devoted just to the niche. So here in Austin, the first fully devoted nerdlesque production was called Feather Fan Fiction. And that was produced by myself and my friend Etheria Lovecraft. She actually named it. I cannot take credit for it. But the first show that we did was for a San Japan convention in San Antonio, and I think that was 2013, and this is 2014. Austin Comic Con was happening at the convention center downtown, and they did not have a nerdlesque show, so we made one at Elysium and got everybody to come from the convention over to Elysium to see our nerdlesque show. And it was a lot of fun. And then in 2015 came the birth of the Geekgasm Review. This is from Professor Argo and myself. We co-founded and produced this together for many, many years. Our first one was Don't Blink. It was an all Doctor Who themed show. So we had enough acts to make Nerdless shows, and then we had enough acts to make themed shows. We had enough people who were into Doctor Who that we could make a Doctor Who themed show, and so every performance was a different character from Doctor Who. This was at Sherlock's Pub, which is not there anymore, unfortunately. But we also had trivia, Nerdless trivia, or not Nerdless trivia, fandom trivia, nerd trivia, there we go, I'm looking for a word, and cosplay contests with this as well. So I'm going to take you through a few different themes that we did with some of the posters that we made for our shows. We did the comic strip, which was all comic book themed, all comic book characters. We had Pixels versus Pasties, which was all video games, and that is actually where my Super Mario brother Piranha Plant ended up. And then we did Star Trek versus Star Wars. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. A very, very popular theme. Actually, all of these are pretty popular themes in Nerdless shows now. And then when you run out of theme ideas, you throw a reruns show, and you just mash everybody back together again, and it's an open theme show again. These actually, we brought a bunch of our favorite acts from previous shows back to like an all-star kind of show. Where did I go? 2019, Professor Argo retired, and I ran Geekgasm Review by myself. And the first show that I did, this was 2021, Dream and Desire. No, this was 2020, I'm sorry. Dream and Desire was an all Neil Gaiman burlesque show, so every act was a character from a different work by Neil Gaiman. And then Enticingly Evil was all villains of any fandom. And then, so this is actually something that had started years prior when Professor Argo was a co-producer. We started the Geekgasm Review in the Chamber of Sequins. We made it through 3 years, and then the creator made it known that they didn't meet our standards anymore. So what's really cool about the burlesque community is much of the burlesque community has decided to retire this theme and these characters and these costumes and these acts in solidarity with our trans community. So this is a part of the history that will not be coming back anymore. Okay, then Pasty Quest, a fantasy nerdlesque adventure, because I have to have Lord of the Rings in like everything, and I had to have a burlesque show around it. Babes in Space, because I love sci-fi, and so everything here was from a sci-fi fandom, or a fandom that happened in space, in any stretch. Once Upon a Tease was a fun show that was all fairy tales or Disney type acts. However, I do want to say that Warner Brothers, Disney, who else? All of them, they will hand out lawsuits if they come across a show that is using a name or imagery or even a font in their flyer. So this was our workaround for our kind of Disney-esque show. And, you know, hopefully it worked. So beyond Geekgasm, comic book conventions and anime conventions all over the world are now adding nerdless shows to their late night programming. Actually, it's not up here, but Coco and I, what year was that? We went to RealmsCon in Corpus. 2014? Okay, and did their nerdlesque show. I just remember that. But Anime Austin did Heroes versus Villains, and this was actually put on by another troupe called the Texan Heat Nerdlesque, and they do cons all across Texas. This is specifically what they do. Thigh High Sci-Fi from the Texas Burlesque Peep Show up in Dallas. So all sci-fi fandom burlesque. And then this one I love because this is an all Archer-themed murder mystery show out of Houston from a troupe called Dim Dam Dames at their legendary Numbers nightclub. And I was murdered in this show. Actually, both times Dim Dam Dames had me down, they murdered me on stage. So I should ask them why that happened. But that was really fun. So themes can take all kinds of varieties depending on where they are, you know, if they're for a convention or just a fun show that somebody's putting on. But there's no limit to the themes that can be had in Nerdlesque for fandom. Ooh. How do I make it play if it's a video? No, wait, no, oh no! I'm pushing buttons I shouldn't push. Okay, somebody save me, I don't know technology. I'm gonna show off a couple of the performers here in Austin that I love and that I have had in a couple of my shows before. And this one is, there we go, Ginger Snaps. I guess my videos aren't working, that's fine. Aha! So Ginger Snaps has just been voted by the Austin Chronicle as the best burlesque performer in Austin for the 9th year in a row. I was a finalist, I'm not mad. I mean, if you're gonna dress up as Dr. Manhattan and do an aerial act in a sphere, I guess you deserve it. Ginger's really awesome. She also is one of the instructors and program directors at Sky Candy Aerial Arts. She has been an advocate for teaching plus-size bodies how to train in aerials, because a lot of studios would not take plus-size bodies in their aerial classes. And Ginger has gone all over the country teaching teachers how to be inclusive of plus-size bodies in their classes. So yeah, that's Dr. Manhattan. Oh, that's all I had to do. Okay, this is Jack Rabid. There we go. I figured out buttons. Jack Rabid is a member of Boys of Austin, producer of Boys of Austin, and also a member of my troupe, Frisky Business Burlesque. Jack is a drag king, drag queen, burlesque performer, boylesque performer in so many various states. Mix Austin Pride from 2019 to 2021. Has been in many of the Geekgasm Review shows. Was also the Grand Illusionist in 2018 from the HavenCon contest. Jack does the most realistic Jareth the Goblin King I have ever seen in my life, and also David Bowie in many iterations, and also a really great young Obi-Wan. Oh, who's this? It's Coco Electric again. This is from the Geekgasm Review's Once Upon a Tease. Coco was the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. But actually, I don't have a photo of this, and I wish that I did, but one of my favorite acts, Nerdlesque acts that Coco does is Counselor Troy that happened at our Star Trek show. You should ask her about it. It's pretty great. And then this is me. I was a very embarrassed Mama Tribble, and I kept birthing tribbles, baby tribbles, all over the stage during the course of the act. Here I am with my tribble doula, Sasha Dahl, who was coaching me into birthing out my tribble boa. The song was Oops, I Did It Again by Britney Spears. Yeah, I don't know why, but this became like my most famous act. So it is the most ridiculous thing that I've ever done. Sometimes I'm like ready to go on stage and I'm like, I cannot. Why are these people paying me money to do this? Like, to just be this dumb. And then I get pictures like this. So, my life's work. So this takes us back to 2013. Naked Girls Reading. Who knows about Naked Girls Reading? Of course you do. So I'm going to call Naked Girls Reading kind of Nerdlesque and Burlesque adjacent. It was a bunch of burlesque performers. We actually got together and we had themed shows, and we sat on the stage. This is at Spider House Ballroom, fully naked, and we read selections from literature to the audience throughout the night. This was our sci-fi show, so we were all decked out in various forms of sci-fi looks. But this is a really special show that ran, 2013 to 2019. And I'm going to call this Nerdlesque adjacent because this was based on the source material, just like fandom. And you can totally cosplay as literary characters. It doesn't have to be just pop culture fandom. So we're including this. And because it ended and because I missed it very, very much. Also, TABC doesn't like naked people in bars. Go figure. So we kind of had a problem getting shows put together because they had to be in like expensive theaters and they couldn't be in like the venues that we have burlesque in. So it was a lot harder just to like get that show solid for a long period of time. So that show ended. And some friends of mine from the show, we were all talking about how much we missed it, the spirit of the show. And so last year, I started the Galactic Salon, which plays with elements of nerdlesque, cosplay, source material, but more on a literary side. So we had the Galactic Salon Gothique, which is all Gothic literature and art. We had two, because it was very popular, mythos shows. They were all mythology. So all of the acts here, everybody was in character, basically from mythology or from Gothic literature or art. I'm going to pick on Miss Something Blue from the Gigawatts from the Gothique show. She came to me with an idea of the anatomical Venus. So this counts as the Gothic period in art, but it was a medical statue, I don't know, tool, educational tool of some sort that depicted the anatomical Venus, which was a woman. It was kind of like a wax figure, but she was reclined, like lounging, and it had all of her organs, and they could open her up basically, and they could take out all of the organs as like a studying tool. So she did an act where she wore all of the organs on her body and ripped them off one by one and screamed every time. It was delightful. Next, shows. Okay, so, got ahead of myself. Geekgasm Review is a show that I love very much, but I passed it on in 2022 to Folly Pardon, Rock God, and Holiday Cash. And they have been doing a lot of fun shows and fun themes with this for the past couple of years. And next week, Saturday, July 6th, I think that's the day, they're bringing back the Star Trek versus Star Wars theme. They're calling it Sabers versus Phasers. And that's going to be at Kickbutt Coffee, and that's going to be a lot of fun. And if you just really, really need to see the mess of tribbles in person, they will be here at this show. And I'm hosting the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. But no, really great performers, and even a Grand Nagus will be there, which is just an absurd and amazing act, and you really should see it. And then the Galactic Salon is the following week on the 11th, and this is called Cybernetic, and it is an all science fiction show. It's there's some fandom from film, some fandom from literature. We have space travel, time travel, beasts and bots. and kind of a really fun performance art piece about how technology kind of incorporates with burlesque. That's going to be fun. I have a theremin player. I'm very excited. And a local science fiction author is going to be reading part of her published trilogy. So this is going to be a lot of fun as well. And now, so if you are interested at all in learning more and seeing more about Austin Burlesque, Austin Nerdlesque. This is my Instagram and Facebook, the Galactic Salon's Instagram and Facebook, and the Geekgasm Reviews Instagram and Facebook. And if you really, really need tickets to Cybernetic from the Galactic Salon, that QR code will take you there. But most importantly, I want to point you to austinburlesque.com here on the bottom. The Austin Burlesque Alliance has a website where all of the producers, all of the productions, every show from the Austin Burlesque Alliance is on the calendar on austinburlesque.com. There is so much really, really wonderful art happening on burlesque stages here in Austin, and the community is sexy, nerdy, fun, really fucking entertaining, and also very welcoming. And I hope that you join us for some shows sometime.
All right, y'all, we are 3 for 3 on excellent speakers tonight, which is not a surprise, but still just so good to see. So with that being said, who's got my first question? Ooh, speaker to speaker.
So how many hours will it take you to prepare for a single number?
Oh, goodness. Okay. I don't even know how to quantify that because like hours in my head or hours rehearsing or hours sewing and rhinestoning, costumes, like I probably work on an act for about 2 months before I let it see the stage. But then I will do that act for forever so that I can recoup my money and my time that I put into it. So this was made in 2016, and I will wear this until I die.
All right, next question. Reliable source.
Who is the local author that's going to be doing a reading at your next show?
Sasha Devore.
Oh, I know who that is.
Excellent. All right. How did you end up picking that author? Was this someone that's affiliated with the scene, or?
So I help the booking team at Kickbutt Coffee. I kind of keep their calendar organized, and she's somebody who had reached out about 2 years ago about having a book signing there. And so and I remembered specifically that she was a sci-fi author. And so whenever I was having this, like, I just remembered her from that. So I reached out to her, and she was totally down to come and play with the strippers.
Outstanding. All right, another speaker-to-speaker question. I'm digging this. It's a good trend. All right, what you got?
So this is more a suggestion than a question from
Okay.
the biggest geek or nerd or whatever you have to be in the room. It should be Marvel versus DC Secret Wars.
Oh, we've done Marvel versus
Oh,
DC.
okay.
We
All right.
have. That was
All right.
actually, so the comic strip flyer, let me find that. Here we go. That one was Marvel versus DC.
Excellent. All right, where are we at next? I got over here, over there, over there. All right, I'm going to go over here because this next question is coming from the person who made the introduction. So here we go.
So as a producer, you get to select which acts go into the shows, and
Yes.
performers pitch to you, I assume. Can you share any of the other acts besides your Tribble act, where somebody would go, "Oh, I can't believe somebody wants to do that," and it worked?
So Jack Rabid and Alexander the Great did a duet of Obi-Wan and Anakin, where they were fighting and Anakin falls into the lava. And it is the most ridiculous thing that I have ever seen. And I'm really glad I have video of it to hold over them forever.
All right. I do kind of want to see that now. Is that coming up anytime soon again?
Possibly.
Neat. All right, here we go.
Do you have a favorite story where something went horribly awry, but someone was able to rescue and like recover and just roll with it?
Every show. My motto is the show must go wrong. And so every single show, something will go awry. And what I always tell any young performer who is a little bit nervous, it's like, nobody knows what you're going to do. So if you mess up, you meant to do that, and you just keep going. No deer in headlights look, don't stop, like you just keep going. And so the audience never knows, but something goes wrong in every show.
That sounds so familiar for Nerd Night. No comment. What you got?
I was curious about the costume you're wearing tonight. Can you tell us a little bit about that and also the song that you performed in that costume?
Yes. So this is my Super Mario Brothers Piranha Plant, my little pipe skirt. I actually had to sew this on tonight because it snaps off and it falls down and to reveal the rest of when I come out of the pipe. But I start this out with the London Philharmonic's version of the Super Mario theme. And then it, once this comes off, actually one part does come off. There we go. It turns into Pat Benatar's Hit Me With Your Best Shot. And I have an entire belt of Tool fireballs that I throw out into the audience. And as I strip everything down, I slowly just become a fireball. Everything underneath is orange and red and yellow, and yeah, so but yes, this was built to deconstruct. So these are all snapped on at the choker, and then they just pull apart and fall right down so that I can come out of my pipe.
Outstanding. All right. We've got a good trend line of questions here. Do we have any more? All right, what you got?
So do all of you basically have to hand make your own custom costumes? Because it doesn't seem like this is something you could source anywhere that I would know of.
So, okay. We can source things, but then we would still have to modify them, which, is still like, so, because all burlesque costumes are basically made to come apart. So even if we did get a pre-made costume, we would have to rig it and kind of sew and change it up so that it would come apart. We also use Goodwill a lot, but this was actually, I did make this and this. I bought this. I cannot make corsets. But a lot of burlesque and nerdlesque performers are hand making the majority of their costumes, yes.
Incredible. I don't suppose y'all offer burlesque sewing lessons or anything like that.
Sherry Baum does.
Nice. All right. So, do we have any final questions before we close the evening? And this is a no pressure situation. It just has to be an awesome question. Okay, I have one. I was hoping someone else would ask this, but I'm going to go ahead and be brave. So every creative endeavor like this has a story, right? And like there's some origin thing. What is the first character you looked at and you're like, I could be that?
So Poison Ivy was, I'm gonna say my actual first one, but it's not. I've done Poison Ivy a lot. But actually before that, I did a female version of the Jerry Lewis film, The Nutty Professor.
Outstanding. Okay. Can you describe the costume in some detail?
Okay, so I had really big, thick, like Coke bottle glasses, and the lab coat and the big like rubber gloves and everything. I had a table with like a chemistry set, the test tubes and the beaker, and I had everything was water and food coloring, and I mixed it. And what was that composer? It was Ray Porter. Is that who I'm thinking of? We talked about this a few months ago. You don't remember? That's okay. And then it was like an old, like, I don't know, 40s song. But, huh? No, it might have been. Might have been. So yeah, so then I'm mixing it and I'm stumbling, I'm clumsy, and then I drink it, and then of course I fall down, and then the mood changes, the light changes, the tone of the song changes, and then I am like realizing that I'm actually not a nerdy chemistry person, but a sexy person. I don't know. And then the striptease happens. It's super dorky, but it's Nutty Professor, like.
That's awesome. Oh my God, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Big round of applause.